All right. We're back. We're live. It's 5:12 p.m. It is Thursday. It's Thursday, January, February, March, April 2nd. Yeah. Okay. So just quickly, I'm going to give a quick review and just a quick overall idea of what's happened in the last couple of minutes. Couple days, couple weeks. So literally, the market has been pretty bad and pretty well, at least personally, the market has been pretty bad and pretty choppy lately. Last week and the week before, honestly, it was really going really bad. If I'm not mistaken, I believe I only traded like once last week. If I'm not mistaken, it was a loss. The rest of the week was just bad. Granted, there were some times where maybe I could have taken a trade in some instances. So obviously stuff I still got to work on. But for the most part, the price action in the month of March was personally pretty bad. Now I don't know if that's a me thing or if that's a just a market thing. But like I said, market just been very, very, very off lately. I'm obviously not at home on my regular setup, so things are going to be a little bit different here in the next couple days. I'm not sure. So I'm not. So last time I traded was yesterday. Yesterday I had my like last $500 left, and I took a loss. And so just to reevaluate everything, I basically broke my funded, just no more funded anymore, and that's kind of good and kind of bad. Bad obviously because I ideally didn't want to get my fund get unfunded. Now I got to go re get funded again, but I do kind of appreciate the fact that now I can go back to do an actual funded account because basically I reported CPI to get this funded account. I didn't really like trade towards my funding. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to restart a new funded account. I'm probably going with the 50K account, and I'm going to ideally what do you call it? I'm going to ideally um, try to improve as much as I can. Try to pass that account normally so that I can actually, when I go to the funded stage, I know that I already passed it, quote unquote, previously, and I could do it again. Right. So what I'm going to be doing is, I believe on Mondays, I'm going to get a new, I'm going to get a new account and trade that. So once again, yesterday was my last trade. That was an L. I'm going to review that in a minute. Um, but yeah, today is Thursday. I didn't take any trade today because I can't, obviously, but also price action was kind of weird, and nonetheless. And tomorrow, obviously, is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, tomorrow is Good Friday, so I don't expect it. I'm not gonna say it's a holiday, but I think it might be a little dry, to be honest. So I'm not even gonna bother with it as a whole. So I'm waiting for hopefully Monday after Easter Sunday might be a little bit better. It might be slow too though, so that's to consider. But hopefully next week is better. But I am going to get on a new funded account. Most likely than not, I'm going to go with the 50K account. I don't know what platform I'm going to go with, but I think from this point onwards, I've basically thought about it for a bit, and I'm going to continue to backtest as much as possible, just to I guess learn and kind of build a fundamental at the end of the day. But what I think I'm going to prioritize is forward testing, because I think that back testing could give you a good fundamental and a good foundation towards what you're trying to do and trying to achieve. The problem is that it's all past tense, right? So the way that you feel, the way that you react, the way that you make decisions, the way that you know observe the market live is very different from when just doing it in a backtesting zone, right? So I'm going to be price testing, forward testing, from this point onwards for the most part. So purchase accounts, trying to do my best, obviously towards profitability. But I'm going to still backtest, but probably just not as much as I would um, with a regular like fund what do you call it, platform account. So I'm going to get refunded again on Monday. I think I'm just going to back this a little bit more between this small break, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Although I am on a little vacation right now, so I don't know, maybe not fully, but I'm going to once again prioritize going back into forward testing on Monday and just see how kind of that goes, and hopefully try to just do better. I do think once again from the beginning, from the minute that I started this the channel, that I've been definitely improving a lot more. I can understand things a little bit better. I have a better read on price action and such. Definitely an improvement, but not there just yet in regards to probability. Yeah. So with that being said, I'm going just to quickly review my trade on Thursday. I don't think the idea behind my trade on Thursday, I mean on Wednesday, was bad. Um, Although execution could have been better, I was on a plane, and the thing wasn't the best, to be honest with you, to be trading on that time, and feelings were a little off too. But when I reviewed it, I don't think it was that bad of a trade, all things considered. So I'm going to review that real quick, and yeah, this is just a little update on what's going to happen in the next couple weeks, couple months maybe. But yeah, so going straight into this real quick. I'm just make a quick little review here. Let's see what we get going on here. So cool. So let me just delete some of the, okay, no, so actually all this stuff is relevant here, right? So let me actually, if I'm not mistaken, this is 9:30 Wednesday right here. Yeah, beautiful. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, so let me just zoom out here and let me just replay the bar because yeah, I gotta replay this bar here. Um, so we're gonna do replay 9:30 on Wednesday is what I want to do, right? No, this is Thursday. 9:30, 9:30. Let's do 9:30 right here. Boom. So my higher time frame bias for the most part, honestly, was more. Honestly, I was hoping to be more bearish. Only reason I was hoping to be more bearish is because even though we do have this large extension leg here, right after taking out this internal low right here, so I'm just zooming that out a little bit. So we take this internal low on both of these on MQ and on MES, right? And we begin to expand. What I observe here basically is that we're very overextended here. We extend up a lot and we have not gotten a single retracement. On top of that, right, we obviously have these unfilled 4 hours down here. And when it's because I'm zooming a little bit more, we have an unfilled 4 hour, Asia lows, London lows, and obviously in this case, we obviously seems to be failing to make higher highs. The two things that were aiming me to go for shorts more than sales was the fact that we were just overextended a lot and we had unfilled gaps down below us, and we also had this 1 hour inversion here failing to go higher right here, right? So I mean, I was kind of loose on the bias, but I was leaning slightly bearish, though. It kind of depends on how price moved from that point onwards, right? So at open, what I look for to happen was ideally for us to pull back, right, into this 15-minute gap right here. Right, so we do pull back into 15-minute gap. So let me just get rid of this right here, here, right? We pull into this 15-minute gap, right? Market opens. Let me just zoom in on do one. So market opens, right? 9:30 right here. In the next one, 9:30 opens, and we just kind of trace inside this zone right here. What I'm waiting for at open is for honestly us to ideally just tap into this small 5-minute gap right here. So we have this 5-minute gap right here, right? So let's go 5-minute right here. I want to see us tap into this 5-minute gap right here. And then I want to see us kind of deliver from that zone. So once again, the first 5 minutes I don't even trade, so I don't even bother about too much with that. We obviously have this long shot upwards. We take out this in small internal 5-minute intermittent low. We shoot upwards, have this huge spike right here, right? What we end up getting is a 5-minute gap right here, right? So I'm thinking if we're bullish, right, I want to see us trace higher and probably look forward to taking out this internal swing above us here, right? What I end up waiting for basically is for us to pull back into this 5-minute gap, right? So we now have formed a new 5-minute gap. We inverse this 5-minute gap right here. And if we're looking for longs, I want to see this 5-minute gap right here hold, right? For longs. What I was also not liking is the fact that we are obviously pushing through this 15-minute FEG here and, with quite a lot of strength. So it does look like we are looking for longs at the end of the day, at least towards this internal high. And we do also have a lot of high time frame buys of liquidity sitting right above us over here with all these stacked highs right here. Looking good to us draw on liquidity if we were looking for longs, right? So I was ready to take a long until I saw this happen right here. So we have once again this 5-minute gap right here. And then what we end up getting is this. Boom. We get this huge 5-minute inversion right here. And in confluence with that, we still respect this 15-minute gap, and encroachment of this 15-minute gap gets respected here, right? So this looks good for us to keep on shorting. And on top of that, I have, once again, my bias is still bearish towards London lows. I don't think in hindsight, this is a bad trade per se. Once again, right, we do inverse this 5-minute gap. We have this bigger 15-minute gap, which holds, right? What I end up looking for us to do is I'm looking for an internal sell model here now, right? So what we end up getting is that we get the small pullback into this 1-minute gap here, right? And I'm looking for us to deliver lower towards not only Asia, London lows down here, but we also want to see us take out this small little liquidity sitting below us here, right? So here I'm very obviously looking for shorts to appear. What I'm looking for ideally is to see this 30-second inversion occur right here. So I'm looking for this 30-second IFEG here to form. And I'm looking for a small CISD to form as well to just kind of give me an extra confidence about that. So I'm looking for the CISD to form right here, ideally, right? And so I wait for this to occur, right? I'm waiting here. We get a pullback. We do get an inversion, right? We do inverse this 30-second gap right here. On the way back, we also do kind of respect it a little bit, and then we have this huge spike right back down. Boom. I like to see this right here. We have a very strong rejection candle here. So what I end up doing, right? So for my entry, once again, right? What was my confidence? I was more bearish coming in the market, right? I was more bearish. We hold this 15-minute gap right here with a huge wick here. Hold this 15-minute concentrated encroachment of the 15-minute gap gets held too. We get this huge 5-minute inversion right here. We then get a pullback into the concentrated encroachment of the 5-minute inversion. And internally, I look for an IFEG to form / CISD for extra confirmation. And we do get this 30-second this 30-second IFEG in confluence with this 1 minute, the 30-second CISD. So what I end up doing is I end up taking this entry right here at CISD, at its internal high. And honestly, I'm just targeting this London lows as our external draw right here for a nice little 1.2 RR here, right? So I do end up going into this with all my contracts that I have available to me. I do believe it was 4 I went with, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe 5. Let's go with 4 in this case. So I take an entry model for 4, right? And once again, I let this get filled in here. So once again, we do get this fill here. My stop loss sits right here at this high up here. And then, actually, no, I went with 5 contracts, actually. Yeah. And then my target down here. And essentially, this ends up basically not panning out, right? We begin to stall a little bit. I just really wanted to see us deliver. My break-even point would have been right here. Nonetheless, right, swing low right here. I want to see us break below that low for me to say, yeah, we're ready to go lower. In this case, we just get stopped out crazy. Boom. I got stopped out. I don't think in hindsight that was a bad trade, all things considered. Was it the most A plus? Not necessarily. I'll be honest. Once again, price action has been a little bit off, but 15-minute was holding, 5-minute inversion, pull back into a 1-minute gap, 30-second inversion with a CISD, small trendline liquidity right below us, London low sitting below us here, super overextended. Honestly, I'm not gonna say A plus, but I do think it's maybe on the B plus, maybe A minus kind of rating. Once again, I could be wrong, but I do think I had decent confidence here to take that trade. So I took that trade, but it was losing trade, and that was a trade that blew my account. So now, once again, like I said, it's what it is. I obviously didn't trade today, given the fact that I have no account to trade with, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to backtest throughout this weekend, tomorrow as well, and I'm also going to just what do you call it? I'm just going to get a regular 50K account, try to pass it normally. That's how I should have been to begin with, and yeah, see how that progresses. I'm going to forward test more than backtest ideally, and hopefully that helps me improve as a whole. Once again, I do think I've been improving. Generally speaking, I think I've been improving for the most part, all things considered. But yeah, it's just been a little bit weird. Markets have been very off lately, with the war news coming in as well. Everything just kind of, it's been all over the place. All these tweets and everything just kind of fluctuating the market very heavily too. So hopefully it does get better progressively. Also, I don't know if the partial shutdown has anything to do with it or anything of the sort either, but we just kind of got to see how that pans out at the end of the day. Yeah. So with that being said, that's that for today, and hopefully next week it's a lot better. But yeah, deuces.